Hi everyone, I'm Alex Rosenfeld, founder of Freshwater Investments, and this is Coffee with the T-Bird podcast. I sit down with fellow T-Birds who are making an impact in business, leadership, and entrepreneurship. Each episode features conversations that explore the pivotal moments, personal motivations, and lessons learned on their journeys. Whether you're a student, alum, or someone passionate about business and personal growth, you'll walk away with fresh ideas. This is a bit more than a podcast. It's a platform for connections, storytelling, and celebrating the global spirit of Thunderbird. This podcast is sponsored by Freshwater Investments. At Freshwater, we make it simple for you to invest in large apartment communities across the United States so you can earn passive income, grow your capital, and benefit from real estate tax breaks without owning or managing property yourself. Hello, everyone. My guest today is Rabie Zahri. He is CEO and co-founder of Positon AI, an AI-native platform streamlining M&A from deal origination to integration. A former Hewlett Packard Enterprise executive, he came to the U.S. at 18, earned advanced degrees in engineering and business, and built a global career in corporate development. Now based in Napa Valley, he's a certified sommelier, avid cyclist, and mentor to emerging leaders. Welcome, Rabie.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you for having me. And pretty excited about Coffee with T-Birds podcast. Super excited about that.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Well, let's start with something I'm curious about. You are a certified sommelier living in Napa Valley. You must have a lot of friends who likes to visit you.
Yes, actually, I do have a Google spreadsheet where I put everybody's down on there, kind of managing the weekends. But I'm actually a level 1 sommelier. That's the second level is certified. I'm actually just a level 1, and I did the sommelier test with my wife just kind of accidentally. Like we were really into wine. We always say we're in the wine industry as part of as a consumer and the buyer, part of the value chain, which is an important part of the value chain. And we basically made a kind of a rash decision to take the test. And I flew out for a business trip to Europe for about a week. And my wife called me and she's like, "Did you know what we just signed up for? This textbook is 350 pages, and our test, which was actually going to be done at the CIA over here in San Helena, and
the other CIA.
The other CIA.
We need to explain because people who didn't visit Napa Valley, they don't know yet.
Correct. So
it's a California Institute of what's the right acronym stands for?
I think it's basically I know it is essentially for cooking and chefs and whatnot. So I don't know
it's a large cooking school. Yeah,
it's cooking school exactly. Yeah. So essentially, there were 4 master somms that were teaching that class, and we only had 3 weeks to prepare. Right. So, and for me, it was only 2 weeks because my wife kind of took on the brunt of the studying. And she summarized everything for me when I came home, and we came up with, different ways of memorizing all that information. And we came up to Napa, stayed a week, and kind of did a lot of blind tasting. And so it was crash course. So I don't want to. You could imagine how that went.
Did it involve a lot of testing and tasting?
Oh my God, yes. Oh yeah, a lot of tasting, a lot of stuff that we were pretty much new to, and different varietals and what have you. But I always remember at the test, it was really interesting at the end when we all passed. And there was a couple next to us that were lawyers, and everybody was super excited. I have 2 masters. My wife is a doctor. These guys are both lawyers, and all 4 of us were super excited about passing this test more than anything before. So we felt like we did something. And so since then,
do you drink wine differently knowing everything about it, or is it kind of the same enjoyment?
Yeah, 100%. I think with anything, right? So once you understand the nuance, you can articulate and label things a little bit better. You have different appreciation for it. And same with wine, you're able to actually pick out the notes. You're able to actually pick out the vintage, geographic location where it came from, even to the lots here in Napa. You know exactly which cab comes from which AVA in Napa. And you do become a certified snob for sure. Yeah. And to be honest, like that was one of the main reasons we became snobs anyway. So we wanted a pin to just kind of justify it a little bit. Um, but yeah, I mean it's and being here in Napa, it does help. So you can access the Napa wines across the valley from Calistoga all the way to Carneros, and you can actually go up the Sonoma as well, which is phenomenal valley as well for different types of wine, like the Pinots that it's known for, and the Zins and what have you.
Great, great.
Yeah.
All right, switching the topic. Let's talk about you growing up in Morocco. Can you tell us what it was like? Can you talk about the country at that stage and so forth?
Yeah. So I left Morocco when I was 18. My experience in Morocco was absolutely phenomenal. It's a country that a lot of people don't know how moderate it is from a cultural perspective because the proximity to Europe, being in Africa, having multiple languages so you're exposed since a young age to the world, essentially. So that's kind of had an impact on me, speaking different languages and being open to the rest of the world, not to formulate any, judgments or opinions about other cultures. It's always celebrating other cultures. And it's always been known for hospitality, especially for Europeans, since, before I was born, a lot of Europeans would just take their motorcycles, drive down to Morocco, go surfing and whatnot, and doors were always open and things like that. So I didn't speak any English at all. And when I left Morocco at 18, and it was terrifying. I actually went to a ESL program where I did the first what they call basic one, which is there's nothing lower than that. So I started basic one, and I was learning English at Arizona State University.
Yeah, let's pause for a second. I have a few follow-up questions about Morocco. I'm very curious. What city you were born in?
I was born in Casablanca, Morocco, and basically I was in middle class, went to public schools. It's a French system of schooling where you can focus early on in junior high. Actually, you can focus on what they call literature or science math. So that's literal translation of French system, right? So I was in the middle. I'm always in the middle, by the way, throughout my career. So I was more leaning towards the science, but so I did my high school there, and then I essentially started looking at. Actually, funny story. This is before the internet was, so available. At 14, I was looking at these French magazines where it's called Études à l'étranger, and you have all the schools and how to, it tells you a little bit about their culture. It tells you about the pricing of those schools. So that's kind of how the research started. And it was essentially on your own, 14-year-old, trying to do all that research. And the parents, their strategy was like, okay, if you want to be on your own, then you might want to start now. We're not going to help you with the research. So
did you have any jobs while in high school?
No. I never had a job until I actually moved to the US. Yeah.
I see. And then why did you decide to move to US?
Well, to be honest, like I said, it was terrifying because I didn't speak English. So I was looking at Canada, Switzerland, and France. And Switzerland was too expensive. France, I wasn't sure because I was going to do what they call sport études, which is I was admitted to a school that lets you play soccer during the day and train and become a professional soccer player. And then at night you can go to school. So that was kind of my parents were not, they wanted me to be an engineer basically. So they pushed me towards school.
Wait, you wanted to be a footballer?
I wanted to be a footballer, yes. And I really did. And, it's always a great dream and it's great aspiration, but anything goes wrong, parents can be risk averse about that. And I think it was a great call. I have a cousin who was a professor over at Gainesville, Florida, and he was encouraging me to actually move to the US. And he basically said one sentence that resonated with me. He said, it's been done before. A lot of people move here. They've never spoken, they don't speak English. They learn and they compete and they go into school and it's been done.
Hmm.
So that kind of resonated. I'm like, okay, I guess if they did it, I could do it too. So that's kind of,
So you in Phoenix, right?
yeah,
Learning English, ESL English as a is it English as a second language? I remember
correct.
that. I think
Yeah.
I took a few of those classes as well.
Yeah.
How did it feel? First, I don't know, first couple of weeks in a different country, no parents.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. So it was exciting. Let me put it that way. It's new and you're open, you're opening your eyes to a new world but now it's responsibility. Now you're on your own. So it's a mixed feelings of both, right? The first year was really, really difficult because I couldn't even go out and to the grocery store and ask and buy stuff. I just couldn't do that because now people would ask me, hey, how are you? Good to see you. What's your name? And I would respond, yes. I have no idea what they just said. So that's kind of the level that I'm talking about. But it's a great adversity. And you can see I was with the students from Japan, Saudi, and a lot of South Korea and a lot of other parts of the world. And, what they say, misery loves company. So it was good to see that everybody was learning and, being part of that. And so what I actually did, I did that for about a semester, or trimester, I should say, 3 months. And then I went straight to sign up for classes. And that first semester was one of the toughest, throughout. So it was kind of like just jump in the pool, start learning, start swimming right there. Like, so that's kind of how it all began for me. And that was actually a good call, even though I didn't get really good grade. Actually, was one of my favorite stories is that I took a music class to just help, kind of get integrated into the system. I didn't know what a syllabus was. And all I needed was 3 tickets from a coffee shop performer to get an A in the class. I completely missed that too. So yeah, so that's kind of gives you an idea where, how confusing that first year was.
And
And that
was it at a
it was at ASU. Families still in Morocco, you're using calling cards to call them, using public phones. This is the time, right? Like 98
yeah.
or so. And yeah, I mean, it was between being homesick, not being understood, not being able to communicate and all of that. It was a really challenging time, but that's kind of it forms your character and also it forms you, and it was a necessary kind of step into the rest of
Yeah,
my life. Yeah.
absolutely. So, do you remember a moment or in time when you did feel at home in the US?
Yeah, I always do. I think what they say is when you start to dream in English, like, that's kind of the the transition, or any other language. If you're American expat and
Yeah,
you move to another country, you start to do that transition. But to me, this has been phenomenal home, and you can love two countries at the same time. I know we're living in a different world today, but you can have, love, US as much as you love, your original country. And to me, it's just been the people here that have been absolutely amazing. Growing up in Arizona, I still have friends from those times that are mentors to me, close friends. They've been to my weddings. They've been to, so absolutely phenomenal opportunity here in the US that, I mean, arguably very, very few countries could provide.
that's true. That's true. Okay, so you got your bachelor at ASU, and you heard about Thunderbird at ASU, or it was you heard about Thunderbird somewhere from somebody else
That's right.
or
That's right.
somewhere
So
else?
yes, actually, the story there was 19, and a friend of mine, his brother went to Thunderbird, and he told me about there's a school up in Glendale that has a pub inside. You know, we started talking, and we're like, hey, well, why don't we go up there and have a beer, right? We're 19, so we're trying to sneak in, but we ended up going up to Thunderbird, and then to me, I was like a kid in a candy shop, just seeing all the T-birds come back from their assignments, or whether it was projects and programs to help different countries in Africa, Latin America, what have you, around the world. And they come home straight to the pub on Thursday and they talk about those stories. They talk about those experiences. And I'm just sitting there, a kid, listening to them, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe where I was sitting. It was just a magical kind of thing for me. And it was a scene like I was sitting at Rick's Cafe, from Casablanca. You know what I mean? Like everybody's getting along from different parts of the world, and they're doing so much good around the world. And you hear their stories and they're super excited. These are kids in their 20s, right? And they're going about doing everything in the world and coming home, right? Coming home to Arizona. So that was phenomenal. I never forgot that. So I went and did my bachelor's in engineering, and I went and did my master's in engineering. I worked for 5 years or so after that, and Thunderbird was still in my head. So I quit my job and I joined the Mystique, I guess.
Excellent. So what are your favorite memories from Thunderbird time?
God, I mean the whole experience. I mean, especially for me as coming out of engineering, right? So I had zero background in business, right? So I was more of an inventor, right? So I had actually started a company before when I was at ASU, but that was a great experience to realize that I didn't know anything about business. So academically, it was phenomenal experience for me. I did the 2-year MBA program. I did the focus in finance, entrepreneurship. So that particular experience from academically was amazing. And also the classmates that I had, we were a fairly large class, but not the largest. I know, the largest classes before, I think extended to like 16th of the class. But the program going overseas, I went with a group to Mexico, to Igate, Tec de Monterrey, and we did 5 months there with Igate, and that was a phenomenal experience with what we used to call regional business environment training. So you know how business is done in Latin America, and you're doing it and feeling it like on site, right? And same after that, I went to Beida, Peking University, and basically you're thrown in the pool, right? So now you have to figure things out, and you have to, go to another 5 months doing that over there, and it was a phenomenal experience. So yeah, overall, I think for me, the regional nights were incredible. Like you're right there in Arizona in Glendale, and you have this incredible experience, African experience, regional nights, right? So, and it's true
Yeah,
experience, right? So yeah, that was pretty special for sure.
that's great. So tell us, how did you find your first job after Thunderbird, or while in Thunderbird?
So I was part of that a generation of the 2008 collapse, economic collapse. So I graduated 2010, and it was I had to start a consulting company. I always say I doubled my staff. I hired one more, T-Bird actually. And but we had some pretty good logos that we brought in, and we were doing both business development and delivering to the client, which in my view, I thought that was a really nice precursor to kind of go to corporate, because you took all the knowledge and things that you learned from business school and you applied it across different industries, different companies. So you're seeing different problems and solving them and applying what you learned, right? And from there, you kind of, you're pretty much ready to be thrown in the corporate world and kind of take it from there. But I do want to say one more thing. I want to go back to the experience at Thunderbird. I want to bring up one thing that's always on my mind as well. It was a very, very humbling experience for me as well, because, as engineers, we can be a little bit like too sure of ourselves in a way that we can do math, we can divide and multiply and do the complex stuff like that. But it was such a humbling experience being with teachers that were, working in Africa or Asia, and they were like way smarter than than us, right? It's just the appreciation of different personalities and different types of people and their talents, and that we brought in. It was super humbling, and it kind of allowed you to, see the world a little bit differently, and also the teams that you work with quite differently. And another fun fact that was really interesting, because now you're doing this program in an international setting, right? So that means you have to work with international people with accents, people with different appreciation of time and different appreciation, So we had a thing called OCI, which is orientation, COI, sorry, Cultural Orientation Index, which is which is kind of a little bit of a stereotype of So you have Morocco, Chile, Germany, and the little stereotypes about each. And then you get scored. So we were scored on it when we came into the program, and then you were scored on it at the end of the program. So almost everybody, whether you're American or international or whatever, everybody's score went down except for the few. We all laughed about it. It's kind of expected because you're a high stress environment and you have projects due, and so you came in with a lot of open mind about different cultures, and then at the end you kind of like it's eroded a little bit just because of those experiences. But anyway, so I mean, going back to that post graduation, I went through that consulting phase, and then I went to corporate world with Hewlett Packard. This was when Hewlett Packard was a $120 billion company. But yeah.
And at Hewlett Packard, you did corporate development. Can you explain in simple terms what's a corporate development?
So I started doing corporate strategy, and then I went to sales strategy and planning, and then I did corporate development. So corporate development is M&A activity. So you're basically either acquiring, divesting, merging companies. So you're basically taking business strategies, aligning them at a corporate level, have a corporate strategy, and have a vision, whether it's short, mid, long term. And then you're looking at your portfolio of products across, and then what makes it, what fits and what doesn't fit, and then you're looking at what's the value that's accretive to the company, and then you make those decisions based on what to target, and you work with the C-suite, and you work with the board and executive leaders or business leaders, especially when you have a global company of this size. And that's a whole topic we can dive into. The pros, the cons, the best practices, what can be done, and things like that.
I'm curious, what are the lessons you learned during your work at Hewlett at HP, and what lessons are you using today from that experience?
Yeah, so I came to HP with an entrepreneurial background and mindset, and my experience there was to have the corporate experience, and that comes with heavy dose of political savviness, if you will. So you have to be able to manage different levels, manage down, manage your peers, manage up. And that's not just HP or HP. It's pretty much every corporate. When you come in, you have to have that tolerance, and you have to have that ability to create allies within the corporate level. And I wish it was just about the skills. It's important to have the skills, but it's also important to have that ability to manage up, down, and middle. To me, that was a great kind of takeaway, and it is helpful, even in the startup world. So you can take those skill sets even in the startup world, and have the ability to actually manage with that kind of mindset, executive level mindset, and then you're actually starting the company and setting it up for growth with that perspective in mind, if that makes sense. So you're not just a startup is not something out of college dorm, it's actually set up properly from the beginning. And then, so you're actually, when you hit that level of growth and that inflection point, you're able to bring in the right people, and you have that set up in place systemically, and then you can grow.
Okay. So let's talk about the most exciting part in our conversation today. Your startup, you're a founder, you're CEO of an AI startup. How did you become one? What it's like to be a founder, and how did you came across the problem that you wanted to solve?
Yeah. So I came across the problem by being a corporate development and M&A executive. And I used different tools that as an engineer, you're always solving problems, right? So you can't help it. I mean, my wife is pretty annoyed every time she wants to talk to me about something. I'm trying to solve it, right? So that's kind of it's just innate, right? So essentially, I never really appreciated the ad hoc tools and the way there's a lot of mundane stuff that people have to do that's outside of the strategy and execution of actual M&A. So that's kind of what I set out to do. And I was also in that business of AI, quantum, high performance compute. So I was kind of seeing the whole market shift from that at the time. And this is before the AI craze. So we came in, kind of early on, and we're helping kind of teach people about and customers about the importance of having AI integrated and being part of the workflow. And it's this year in particular, it's becoming more of an adoption. Like people are actually warming up to it. Yes, mainstream, and they're they're having budgets for it. They're actually pushing. They're seeing that there will be left behind because everybody's moving forward with it. But from Positon perspective, we looked at the entire process, and there isn't anything bespoke to M&A professionals or deal makers. So we decided this is something that they can benefit from. It's a command center where they can manage their portfolio companies from a deal execution or deal performance standpoint, and also from a deal execution standpoint and from the deal origination standpoint. So from end to end, they can actually manage everything there in one platform and get out of the old tooling that is becoming more obsolete. And we're proud to be moving the market in that direction. The incumbents are also moving that direction. There are new entrants that are coming in. We have much of a head start on everybody. We're AI native, and we built it from that respect. And also we built it so that with new AI advancements that you hear about almost every month, every 3 months, it actually makes our entire platform stronger. Every new advancement actually makes us, because we have AI weaved into the entire workflow. So that whole concept and strategy makes us even stronger, instead of displacing us or having a completely wipe out a SaaS application, for example, if you're in just one siloed offering. Yeah. So that's kind of the inception of.
So how did you make that jump from corporate world, comfortable salary, and then you coming home one day and you're telling your wife, I'm gonna quit and start this company?
Yeah. To be honest, it was building blocks, right? So I just knew that I had that entrepreneurial bug. Like I knew it was coming. I wasn't sure exactly what it is, but when I did, I'm forever grateful for my former boss for hiring me into that, because that's kind of where the idea kind of started. And so the building blocks I mentioned is that you have to get yourself ready so that, say, you're not taking salary for the next 5 years. What happens, right? You have to be ready for an experience. It's an absolute privilege. Don't get me wrong. It's a tough journey for a lot of people. And anybody's going through it. I mean, it's absolute kudos. It's a lot of people don't understand what that journey is, but you have to be ready for it mentally, physically, be able to, take breaks when you need to, and rejuvenate and what have you. But it's not for the faint of heart. I know these are cliched words that a lot of people hear from entrepreneurs. The equivalent for it, it's kind of like, to me, I always use sports, but think of it like, I always like the 1500 race. It's almost like you're running at high speed for a long time, right? So it's not like you get a chance to jog for a little bit, or if you're doing a marathon, you can do phases and whatnot. And I've done marathons before, but when you're doing 1500, you're literally speeding. You're doing sprint for that long, and it might be even more than 1500 meters, right? So that's kind of how I see it.
Let's talk about the mindset shift going from corporate to being an entrepreneur. What are the main things you kind of need to change internally to be successful in this game?
I think number one is perseverance. You have to have that. And I have my own opinion about what that is. Is it a muscle that you can build? Is this something that sits on top of all your prior experiences? And is it something you're just born with, right? And to me, it might be a mix of all of that, but it's the number one thing that you must have as an entrepreneur. You could be smart, you can be, there's a lot of 4.0s out there. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't mean they're all gonna, start companies and actually see it through from end to end. And you might be creative, but not have the stamina. You might be, so to me, it's first don't die and then thrive from there. So first you don't die, you survive, and then you get to a point where you can thrive, and then you take the company from there. But that ability to, kind of see it through and stand your ground and survive and have the ability to slim down and grow and manage that whole model that you built is super, super important. And that's I don't know if anything else to me matters. I mean, obviously it's a bouquet of things, but the number one thing that entrepreneurs must have. Yeah.
Great. And so did you raise money right away, or you bootstrapped at the first, and why?
Yeah, we raised money, we bootstrapped and raised money pre-seed. The triple F, family, friends, and fools round. And we're actually been built an enterprise level software that has all the compliance, the architecture, everything that any enterprise customer would want out of any enterprise software. We have all the bells and whistles with the pre-seed money. And a lot of people don't see that it's not just the pre-seed, it's the in-kind as well. So a lot of experts with their time and whatnot. So if you calculate all of that, it's almost like, you raised seed, if that makes sense. And that's, starting a company that's the benefit, in my view. I started the company in my mid-20s, and that's why I went to business school. I realized I don't know anything about anything. And for me, doing it in mid-50s, it's a really, really special time because I have the energy, I have the stamina, I have the experience, and nothing really scares me from, oh, I don't know this. I don't know everything, but I know enough, right, to ask questions and expand and do things. So that was super helpful, and also kind of bringing in my expertise in different areas so that, it's kind of an in-kind resource, if you will. That kind of went into the startup.
Yeah, and how did you approach finding your first investor, and what convinced them to back you up?
Yeah, it's basically relationship based initially, and they know who you are, so they know what I'm made of. They know my background. I came to this country with $800, and it was stolen. Yes, so I started from scratch. I didn't have anything. I went, put myself through college, including Thunderbird, including my master's, and I don't go advertising any of this, but it's this is what this country can do, right? And if you have that stamina, if you have that ambition and just kind of a drive, that if you have that, you're able to achieve anything you want, to be honest. I mean, I'm a living proof of literally starting from zero. I mean, imagine learning a language, having to make money, having to get yourself into education and graduate and do these things and go up. I mean, I'm right here. Okay. You know what I mean? It's I don't know a lot of countries where you can go and do that. So
yeah, and if you could give one tip to founders pitching investors for the first time, what would it be?
I think for the first time, you want to tell them your story. It's all about those first investors are basically your biggest cheerleaders, believers. I mean, those are my favorite people, to be honest with you. These are people that believed in me, right? So, and when you start to raise, you're going to be very clear-eyed on who's close to you, who's friend and who's not, and who's able to help you out and on your journey and believes in you. So it's all about you. As when I say you, it's not particularly the founder, but the team as well. The founder, the leader is important, but also the team that's with them or her is important to relay that story of where you came from, why, But initially, the first investment is typically going to be around people that you already have relationships with. So they already have a glimpse of you as a person. And then from there, you can pitch the idea of how viable of a business model it is.
Right. And so you as a CEO wear a lot of different hats. How do you decide what to focus on today or tomorrow?
That's a great question. Yes. Yeah. So I'm basically customer oriented. So I'm customer focused, and that's where I prioritize my time. I'll make sure that they have a product that we're proud of, that they can it helps them in their journey of M&A. It brings value to the customer, and that's how I make a lot of my decisions. And how do we actually make sure that the customer is happy with everything that we provide to them, and we support them, white glove treatment, we're their partners. So all my decisions are laser focused and come from that lens.
So what are your toughest challenges at the moment running your company? Is it fundraising, product, marketing, you name it?
Yeah. All honesty, I think it's mostly fundraising right now. And we built a phenomenal product. The customers are coming in this year more than before. So we could potentially become customer funded, which is fantastic. But you always want more gas, so you can actually properly compete and beat beat the competition. But yeah, so that's kind of where the issue is for us. But again, we're at the cusp now of becoming customer funded, that I think that's the main thing. Yeah.
Where do you want to take your firm, your startup in 5 years?
In 5 years, I think I'd love to have a partnership with the ecosystem, in my view, that can actually help the entire deal makers, all of them, meaning there's different actors from private equity to investment banking, corporate development, even the management team and of sell side and other intermediaries as well. So we actually bring value to each, but there is a lot more partnerships with other solutions that they needs. Like you can think of insurance, escrow. You can think of third party accounting firms, even wealth management. A lot of people don't think about that. Bring that entire ecosystem in one place, and now you actually have in the background data set across all these different activities from end to end, including integration and deal performance. And the importance of that, it's never been done before. And if you look at the M&A space, it's about 70 to 90% of the deals fail, right? And when it does, meaning it failed to meet the success factors that were set out, right? And when it does, you have people pointing the finger at each other. So they don't know where the issue is. Was it in the beginning during the due diligence, or is it in the end through the integration process? Where did it go wrong? And people don't know because they have to move forward with other deals and life keeps going, right? So they don't really have a post-mortem, like what really happened. They do post-mortem, but it's really difficult to diagnose what really happened. So in a way, we're actually designing this. You have the ability to look at all the data in the de-identified, anonymized from the back end, and actually have some insight on, what makes a good deal, what doesn't, where the issues might be, what are the risks that you need to be assessing, especially when you take this complexity from one country to regional to worldwide. So now when you're doing acquisition from, of a company in Italy, for example, there are labor laws, there are other laws that you may not be, privy of. And this is just an example, right? But there are other things that you may not be. But with the data set, with these insights, you'll be able to actually operate with insight at your fingertips. So that knowledge base, that best practices at your fingertips. So if you're doing that on our platform, for example, you'll get a notification on, hey, this risk that you just assessed, we've seen this before, right? And this is typically how it was mitigated and how much it cost. And now you have something that instead of building internally and losing it, it's a muscle memory that could sometimes get lost when people leave. Now you have it systemic. Now you actually, as a company, this is value that never goes away. So
excellent. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Before we wrap up, I'm gonna ask a few quick questions. What advice would you give to 20-year-old self, knowing what you know right now?
I would say invest in yourself. That's number one. Believe in yourself, invest in yourself, grow. This is a journey in life that don't look for destinations. They don't exist. Like a new one will pop up, So keep going, keep growing. And for my fellow T-Birds, you're already on the right path. You have a global mindset, traveling around the world, gaining experiences, appreciating other people's cultures, and taking that into your personal and professional journey. So,
do you have any requests or any additional message to Thunderbird community? Like, do you need help with fundraising?
We're always fundraising. We're always looking for customers. We're always expanding. This is part of the growth. phase for Positon. Would love anybody who's interested in learning what we're doing. I would love to meet with T-Birds. I've worked with a lot of T-Birds that are in the space of M&A and what have you. There's already conversations there, but would love to anybody who's interested in what we're doing. Happy to talk to.
Excellent. And you are a certified sommelier. What's your go-to wine for celebrating a big win?
Yes, that's a fantastic question too. And it changes, right? So this, it changes by the year. But right now, my favorite is a Coombsville Cab. Coombsville is a new AVA in Napa, and I'm a huge fan of the grapes that they grow there. It's always been around where Napa Valley sources from Coombs and winemakers source from Coombs, but now it's its own AVA. It's been 10 years now, or 11, give or take. And their cabs are absolutely phenomenal. So that's my go-to for celebrating. And my wife has to hide them from me because they can go pretty quick.
All right. And what's your next travel destination?
Yes. So the next one is going to be Alsace. So that's between Germany and France. And that's kind of, it's been on our kind of in the plans for a while. And just because in the nature of running a business, you always go on trips, not vacations. Right. So yeah, the next vacation is going to be completely turning off everything. And I think Alsace will be a fantastic experience for us.
I heard they make good wine in there.
They do. Yeah. And by the way, actually, like every destination I go to, we do the wine tours and meet with the winemakers and things like that. So we try to kind of combine that experience as well.
Excellent. Rabie, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciated being a guest on this podcast. I wish you continued success and all the best.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate your time and having me over. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks.